what you saw tonight from a haughty, indignant Kamala Harris was what the Biden campaign has been trying to hide. That the Democrats are now the party of radicals, by radicals, and for radicals. Kamala Harris struggled to lie away Biden's real agenda on lockdowns and his true plans to, for instance, abolish the fossil fuel industry. You know, there's a very good chance that if Biden wins, the woman you saw tonight will become president of the United States. Yet she refused to answer multiple, easy, basic questions.
How would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Are we competitors, adversaries, enemies?
Susan, the Trump administration's perspective and approach to China has resulted in the loss of American lives, American jobs, and America's standing.
If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want California to do? No restrictions on access to abortion.
First of all, Joe Biden and I are both people of faith, and it's insulting to suggest that we would knock anyone for their faith.
People, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Of the 50 people who President Trump appointed to the Court of Appeals for lifetime appointments, not one is black. This is what they've been doing. You want to talk about packing a court?
No, the question was about packing the court. Maybe she should have just asked if she could have bought a vowel or something. Well, but true to, to be honest here, Pence punted on some questions too, but at least the Trump record is there for everybody to see. Economic prosperity, peace deals in the Middle East, holding China accountable, recovery even after the pandemic hit. But the Biden campaign knows much of what it has planned isn't popular. And they know they can't deliver higher wages for most Americans. So what they do, and you saw her to do this tonight, is obfuscate and prevaricate. Now, when someone is as left-wing as Harris is, you have to ask, is she ever going to use her power for the good of the middle class? How about the working class, small business owners, Americans of faith? The answer, never. Biden will not only make your life miserable with lockdowns next year, a point that unfortunately Mike Pence did not make tonight, but they'll also make you miserable by leaving you poorer, less free, and less safe. Kamala Harris, true to her liberal San Francisco political roots, hates much about this country. After all, she believes, like Biden now, that we're a systemically racist nation. That is a poisonous, awful, terrible lie that Mike Pence called out.
This presumption that you hear consistently from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that America is systemically racist, and that, as Joe Biden said, that he believes that law enforcement has an implicit bias against minorities, is a great insult to the men and women who serve in law enforcement. I mean, it is remarkable that when Senator Tim Scott tried to pass a police reform bill, brought together a group of Republicans and Democrats, Senator Harris, you got up and walked out of the room. We don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement, improving public safety, and supporting our African-American neighbors and all of our minorities.
By the way, she was smirking through most of that answer. Kamala Harris threw down the race card tonight, and she lied about what President Trump said about Charlottesville. Of course, Susan Page didn't correct the record. And she did this all because she and Joe Biden can't refute and certainly can't beat the Trump-Pence record on helping African Americans. Joe Biden, though, I think to a lot of folks, a lot of you who are watching, you're still up in the Midwest and the East Coast, maybe to you, he represents the Democrat Party of the past, like a safer Democrat Party of 30 years ago. It was a little bit more moderate. Maybe for a lot of you, you think about Biden and you have kind of a nostalgic viewpoint. But his talk of Scranton and his blue-collar appeal, it's all bunk. Most of those folks, those blue-collar folks, they're now for Trump, and for good reason. The Democrats are a party of wealthy donors and radical ivory tower types who want to impose their extreme anti-American agenda on the rest of us. That's who they are today. So all of the pain and suffering that the liberal governors and mayors' COVID restrictions and lockdowns have caused you, that's not going to bother Democrats of today. Whether on masks or travel limits, the rules never apply to them or their well-connected friends. They see COVID, remember, as a political gift, which their old pal Jane Fonda admitted today.
I just think COVID is God's gift to the left.
It's really, really funny. Well, she did speak the truth. When the other cable networks put the chart up on the screen day in and day out of COVID deaths and infections, they're not doing it to empathize and inform you. They're doing it for one reason and one reason only, as a political weapon against President Trump. Kamala and pretty much everyone who could end up in Biden's cabinet will be closer ideologically to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez than William Jefferson Clinton. It's a different party. Now listen to how she spoke to the parents of an American hostage who was brutally murdered by ISIS. The inauthenticity was palpable.
To the Mueller family, I know about your daughter's case, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What happened to her is awful, and it should have never happened.
Get ready to hear that a lot if Biden wins. Oh, it's awful. I'm so sorry that your job was shipped to China. Oh, it's awful. I'm so sorry that your kids can't go to in-person classes because we're locked down. Or I'm sorry, it's so awful that your neighborhoods aren't safe, but we're not going to try to offend anyone by enforcing the laws. I'm sorry you feel bad that Mount Rushmore has been demolished. You're going to hear that a lot. If Biden-Harris wins, the policies they will enact will be favorable to pro-China, the pro-China caucus on Wall Street, and in big business. Their policies will be favorable to the global scientific establishment pushing lockdowns and climate change rules. They'll be supportive of leftist ideas that come out of academia, and they'll be hostile to the middle class and hostile to American history and traditions. They'll be hostile to the oil and gas industry, hostile to practicing Catholics, traditional Christians, and Orthodox Jews. This was another debate where the moderator was clearly in the tank for the Democrats. Most questions were worded against Trump. Susan Page interrupted Pence for time frequently and let Harris drone on and on when she got indignant. So Pence did fine tonight. He obviously won. And Harris did nothing to contradict what we already know about her. Now, none of her eye-rolling or grimacing or the insect moving on Pence's head is going to change this simple fact. The markets were up 500 points today because Trump's recovering and getting stronger. He's willing to do a targeted stimulus. I do wish that Pence said that the Biden-Obama economy in 2016 was so strong, so vibrant, so great for the working class, that Americans decided to turn over the country to Donald Trump, a guy with zero government experience.